Welcome to the Valley Today, a public service presentation of KAIL TV. Occasionally a viewer calls and asks to speak with me. This was the case 2 months ago when a Mr. Ben Johnson, a local Clovis man, told me a fascinating story about Chinese immigrants and their work that helped build portions of the Sugar Pine Railroad from the High Sierras to Pinedale. After a little research and time, Ben and I were finally able to come up with hopefully something of interest. Ben Johnson and what he has discovered while hiking in the foothills. Next on the Valley Today. Well, I am here with an acquaintance of mine that I've met over the last few months, Ben Johnson. Ben's a native of Clovis, and he kind of knows the history of this area fairly well. And we're kind of out of North Fork now on a rail line. Thanks for being with us.
No problem. I love being out in the outdoors and sharing all the stuff I can find.
Yeah. And boy, you've really gone to bat on this one. And tell us about this rail line.
This was the Sugar Pine and Minarets and Western Railroad.
Yeah.
And it was the biggest lumber operation in the world in the 1920s.
And now it's just a cow pasture now.
Due to the recession, or the stock market collapse, they lost all their funding, and even though it was profitable, they couldn't pay their loans.
And this was a rail line that went that served the higher Sierra and came down here, and
they put in 38 miles of track from Pinedale to Bass Lake, and then tied on to another leg that went to Central Camp.
Yeah, and where's Central Camp at?
Central Camp's right below Yosemite. It's all right on the way to Yosemite.
And that's where they were getting the big lumber and bringing it down.
Yes, yes. They had a temporary mill at Bass Lake, and then they brought it down to Pinedale and did the finish work. Did all the.
So what did they do here? Was this a staging area to get the lumber down into the valley, or?
Yes. They had it was an exorbitant cost, $6 million to build this railroad.
Yeah.
But they thought that they would recoup it with a long-term
logging.
Logging, yes.
Yeah. So $6 million in 1921, which translates into just huge dollars today.
Outrageous dollars today.
Yeah. $6 million won't even buy a certificate of gas now, will it? But that's not why we came here to tell you. We've got a special surprise, and it's down this line about 10-15 minutes.
Yes.
And so we're going to take you right now. Here we are. And it's everything you told me it would be, Ben. Tell us, come on over here and tell us exactly what we are looking at.
It looks to be a Chinese gargoyle to chase away the evil spirits for the workers.
It didn't work on us, did it?
It tried to stop me a few times.
Did it?
It chased me away 3 times. It took me 3 times to get here. So I don't know if it has some juju power left.
Yeah. This is impressive. So we had Chinese workers building this rail bed.
And this cut, this is a solid rock here. They had to dynamite all through here.
Oh yeah.
So they didn't do this by accident. They had to be here for a while.
So probably they had power tools, and they had to have an artist. They had to have somebody in their company that was able to make this. Or do you think they brought a shaman in?
They must have, I would think. That somebody had to have known their techniques for making the.
And so this is a pretty narrow. There's a narrow pass here. You think they did this here because this rock was here and available, or because there's some other significance other than just the rock being here?
My guess is that they were here long enough.
Yeah. They
were in one spot long enough for a guy to chisel this out.
Yeah, and so the Chinese folklore is that this protects them from
the evil spirits.
So we must not be evil.
we're not too bad.
Yeah. It's interesting though, you brought me pictures a week ago, and the picture that you took of the face was, all the other pictures were fine, but the picture you took of the face was blurred.
Once again, bad juju?
I don't know. Or bad photography. You know, I'm not a real superstitious person, so I don't buy that, but, you know, certainly other cultures do, and we have to respect them for that. Well, tell us a little bit about this.
I'm seeing more detail. I don't know if this is an earring in his ear. This is his ear.
Yeah, he's got bat ears.
He's got bat ears.
Yeah. He almost looks like an alien. He's got these elongated ellipsoid eyes. He's got these big bat ears. Here's his legs, and it almost looks like he has hooves for feet, doesn't it?
Yes. I think he carved it out. I don't know if that was his intention to make him come out.
Yeah. When do you think this was created?
If it was when the workers came through here in 21.
Yeah.
I can only guess it was that.
And so this line was active from, say, mid-20s till when? Till the crash, the Depression,
right, at least 31. I know it says it was still going in 31.
Yeah. And it's thoroughly weird that, you know, you just call me out of the blue and you say, hey, I've got something that I think is really interesting, and it's local art. And it's not far from Fresno. We're only 20 minutes from Fresno.
Yes, and here's an unusual thing that's been here this whole time.
Yeah.
It's what happens when you get out and walk around. You know, get out and you actually walk in nature.
Right. And so you just stumbled upon that. An old timer told you about this.
An old timer told me that it existed on the railroad cut. He never said where it was, so my hiking buddy John Alfaro and we scoured the countryside, and we started walking. We found a line and just started walking it.
So when you first heard of this, what year was that?
It was about 1986.
1986. So this old timer that you just happened to be in conversation with told you, oh, by the way, there's this Chinese is this considered a gargoyle?
That's what good luck totem.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah. So I would say that it's it's a gargoyle, and it's got the arms and the hands and the wings.
It had to have been an artist more so than just your common guy.
Yeah. That's what I would think.
These wings had a lot of detail. It's been lost. There was a lot of detail in all this wing, and when I first saw it, it was quite startling.
Yeah,
we've been walking for days and never find nothing, and then we walked right past it.
So you've kind of you've walked these rail lines just to see where they go and what condition they're still in, what the roadbed condition is still in. Clearly, this is out of service because you've got, you know, you don't have the rail here anymore, and you've got all this boulder and all this detritus now that's fallen into the roadbed. But yeah, I can see where they would spend a little time here because they had to cut through. This is all solid granite, isn't it?
Right. This was all dynamite.
Yeah. Hey, look at this.
That's a piece of.
That's a piece of rail.
That's a piece of rail.
Yeah, that's what they would fasten the iron rail to the wood crossmember, right?
Yes, yes.
Just sitting right there.
It's not all gone yet.
Yeah. This is too cool. This is a part of California history that built this state because of all the lumber that came out of the high Sierras, all that old growth lumber, and they had to get it down to Pinedale.
Pinedale.
And all that lumber, probably any old house in Fresno that you know is still standing. It was built with the lumber that came out of the high Sierras, came out of the Sugar Pine
Lumber
Railroad.
Company.
Wow, that is amazing. That is amazing. Now I'm sounding like Huell Hauser. That's amazing. And you rediscovered this a couple weeks ago. You came in here. Yeah, because we'd been talking on the phone for a month or two, and you said, hey, I know where this gargoyle is. And I said, well, when was the last time you saw it? And you said, well, I saw it in the 90s. And I said, well, you better go see if it's still there before we trek in a half an hour off the road just to come see this.
Really, it's nice to document, though, before it's completely gone.
Yeah.
That if it could have been seen when in its original form, I'll bet it was really impressive. I'll bet it was.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's deteriorated too much, but of course we have an image that that you brought me that you took of it in what, 1990 or so, or.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow, that is too cool. And what a beautiful day we are here today in the foothills. We're what about 2,000 feet, 1,500, 2,000 feet?
2,000 feet, I think so.
Yeah.
This is one of the rare times that we have green grass and nice temperatures.
Yeah, it's not hot yet. The grass hasn't died yet. You know, it's end of April. But of course, I think we're lucky this year because we got so much water. That's why everything's still green and still pushing. This is what I know about Chinese icons. In the year 283 BC, the tyrant Prince Min of the state of Kwai was defeated in a battle with other states and was strung up at the end of a roof ridge and left hanging there without food or water until he died. To stigmatize his evil deeds, the people placed an effigy riding on a hen on the roofs of their houses. The weight of the prince stops the hen from flying down, and the dragon on the other end of the roof was placed to stop the hen from turning back. During the time of Emperor Ming, other figures were added. A correct set would be in this order: hen, dragon, phoenix, lion, unicorn, celestial horse, and kiwen. If more was needed, any one could be repeated except hen or kiwen, but always to form an odd number up to 11. Odd numbers come under the influence of yang.
Why the moss doesn't grow on this side and it grows so much on that side?
Well, I think typically moss did well on north sides of faces. And let's see, this is probably the southeast side.
Yes, sir. There you
I
go.
don't have
There's
a compass here, but
you have a little wood lore in you.
Well, it's not wood lore. It's just piloting skills. This is really, truly, truly very unique. Very unique. And it's great that we get to come here and see it, you know, and document this. How many other images like this do you think are in California from the Chinese in their work environment?
Right. There's no telling. You know, this was just something that's out here. We're not near a town. We're not near any place that I would think that they would come from there to do it. So they had to have done it on their off hours.
Yeah.
And at night. They did this at night?
Yeah, because they were working pretty hard just to get this.
I don't think they got a lot of time off.
Yeah. Wow. That is truly amazing.
I really wish we could have seen it in its glory.
Well, the fact that we're here now and we're seeing it is, you know, it's still pretty cool. You can see all these cuts. They had to use air chisels or maybe they just use hand tools.
In the 20s,
yeah.
I would think that's what it was.
I can imagine a lot of this finish work was by hand with tools that had, they were able to get more detail.
Right. I would like to know what this is, an earring or what is this? I never saw that before. And I see that there's, I don't know if that's just deterioration.
Yeah, it could be where because there's not one on this side. So maybe this is where it's deteriorated and maybe this came off. Okay. But it does look like it was carved, doesn't it?
It does. I didn't notice it before.
Yeah. Wow. Gorgeous. Only here in California, huh? In the middle of the state. Who would suspect that this would be here?
Right. I've never heard of anybody talking about it. I've never heard of the Chinese leaving signs of good luck.
Yeah.
I'd like to get their take on it and see if they recognize.
And did you come up with other images, just trying to cross-reference it on the internet to see what other? Because the Chinese culture is interesting. They have they stack these idols that protect each other, so that there's a dog. I think there's a dog idol, a horse idol. There's also you know, this is a month ago that I looked at all this stuff, so I'm not real well versed on it, but You know, they have these on roofs of Chinese buildings. They have idols like this. And one idol would look over. There's a progression of about 7 idols. I think the Chinese culture also favored odd numbers. So odd numbers, I could be way off base here. But from what I remember, is they had 7 idols on a roof, on a corner of a roof going up to the top, and they all represented something. There was a horse and a dog, and there was a gargoyle. I think the gargoyle was at the bottom.
On the computer, we scanned a lot of pictures, and I can't. There's some things that have the features of the bulgy eyes. I've seen a pointy ear, but I've never got on one creature, one carving to have all those features.
Yeah. And maybe this was an idol that superseded all other idols.
It's winged. I don't. If it was going to fly over them and protect them.
Protect them.
But I don't know if he chose not to put teeth because teeth would break out.
Well, maybe it had teeth at one time.
Maybe it had teeth.
Or maybe it was just easier to not give it teeth. Just make a mouth. It almost looks, the face almost looks like the, there is a face in Italy where you stick your hand in, and if then a person that you're with can ask you to tell you one thing that's true, and if you tell them a lie, then supposedly you lose your hand.
Nice.
Yeah, we couldn't ask for a nicer day. What are these pines here? Are these digger pines?
I'm not. I think so. We always call them bull pine, but I don't know if that's the right term or not.
But these are a lower elevation pine. And it was interesting, we just hit the pines about 50 yards out because when we came in on the other side of where we parked the car and came in and found this rail line, there were no pines there.
Just a real quick drop. I don't know if they harvest these commercially. The literature that I read all happens, the mill was all at Bass Lake and Central Camp.
Yeah. And so this was processed wood that was coming down here, you think? Or pseudo-processed?
Yes, exactly. They probably finished it off.
Right. Depending on what the needs were, they would make 1x12s or 4x4s or whatever, but they would get it ready to be finished down in Pinedale, right?
Right. Pinedale turned out 40 box loads of finished wood out of their kiln a day.
40 boxcar loads.
40 boxcar loads.
Railroad boxcar loads. That's a lot of wood.
Every day.
Every day. For how long?
At least 10 years.
Yeah.
They're not really clear on when they actually pulled the plug.
Wow. So Ben's the man here because this guy, he did all this legwork. You know, first of all, he told me about the gargoyle. And then, you know, the conversation, and he brought me a picture and showed me this picture that he took in 1990. And then, so the conversation progressed. I says, okay, well, go see if the thing's still there. So he comes here, he hikes in. You hiked in with a friend?
Yes.
Just to make sure that this thing was here?
Right.
Still here? But beyond that, you went to Madera County. You went to their historical society. You went to the Fresno Historical Society. And then you finally ended up with, and you were looking for Chinese worker history here in California on the rail lines. And you really didn't come up with anything, but then something popped up out of Hanford.
There's a Taoist temple and museum, and they expressed interest that they might be able to shed some light. Shed some light on it.
Yeah.
They've never heard of workers leaving a monument like this in the field.
Oh, would they, after the work was done, would they destroy it or take it with them?
They've never heard of such a thing.
Yeah.
If it was done, it was done somewhere else, and it was.
So I'm more confused now than when I first met you, and you know, more answers, more questions, more questions.
The riddle gets bigger.
It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Well, I suppose that we're going to have to trek to Hanford and talk to these Chinese folks.
A Taoist temple.
At the Taoist temple, and see what their take is on this idol, on this Chinese idol. And we're assuming it's a Chinese idol. I'm thinking it is. But what do I know?
The mystery is
I work in television, so what do I know? But this is truly unique, Ben. This is one of those things that I'll remember for the rest of my life. You know, is trekking in here. Well, this thing is not going to let me stand up. Wow.
See, if you really spent the time to go over, I still see a few details. I'm picking out more things.
Yeah. This wing is not as intact as this one is in a lot better shape, it looks like to me. Wow, that is truly, truly cool. Well, Ben, it's been a real pleasure.
No problem. I loved it.
Thank you for telling us about this and bringing us in here and showing this to us.